was Shlomo Molcha. Now, it's unclear if David Reuveni actually was claiming to be a Mashiach. Most of it, or was he just a herald of the Mashiach? Was he like bringing? But it's unclear. There was a lot of. There was another one. This guy again appeared in a German Jew, Asher Leinlin, Rav David Gans, who was a Talmud of the Maharal and a historian. Rav David Gans writes that his father destroyed the matzah oven that he had built, destroyed his matzah oven because he was confident that the next year he'd be baking matzahs in Eretz Yisrael. Asher Leinlin came and he abolished Yom Tov Sheni Shel Goliath. He abolished the second day of Yom Tov. He abolished me. He said, why? He says, the time of the Mashiach is coming. He says, all of the Rabbanon laws are only needed when there's a lack of clarity. Oh, they're only needed when you've got spakers, etc. Now it's the times of the Mashiach are coming, right? We don't have spakers anymore. A lot of people, right? And indeed, Rav David Gans writes that he heard from a great, one of the Gedolim of his time, that Loi Davareku, it was not an idle matter. Ilu Zachilu. If we merited, it would have, the matter would have drawn to a good conclusion with the Geulah. So who knows, right? Asher Leinlin didn't actually claim it's hard to know what he claimed, what he didn't, but he didn't, not clear that he claimed to be Mashiach or just heralding Mashiach. So we have false messiahs, Mashiach Sheker, the most famous or infamous being Shabtai Tzvi. We'll talk about Jacob Frank later, also infamous. And of course, we have also Cheskes Mashiach, the most famous being, of course, Bar Kokhba. Let me give you a bit of background. Historians struggle with why this phenomenon of Shabtai Tzvi was so massive and encompassed so many Jews of all types in hugely diverse ethnic and hugely spread out geographical locale, that it's a very strange thing. How could it happen? So, some, of course, Gershom Scholem wrote a 1,000-page book about this, by the way. And in his 150-page introduction, right, is spent on trying to I know the book has got apikosim, etc. But when I finished it, I felt like doing a seal. It's like, oh, but nevertheless, right. One of the things he tries, he was a believer that it was the catastrophes that caused it. So, as you know, there was the expulsion from Spain, 1492, Portugal, right, 1497, the Marranos. So he says maybe that was it. Of course, that's a little bit dochuk, it's a little bit problematic because that's 200 years, like 150 years earlier. So what? Delayed reaction? Yes, it was a catastrophe. I mean, there was. After the expulsion from Spain, there were a number of cases of people who thought it was the time of the Mashiach for a few reasons. A, we have the Ottoman Empire opening its arms and allowing Jews to come to Eretz Yisrael. That was momentous. The idea that Jews were now allowed to settle freely in Eretz Yisrael. The Ottomans were clearing up the Temple Mount. The Ottomans were building roads. The Ottomans were doing this. It's amazing stuff. So a lot of people thought maybe this is it. But that's 150 years earlier. Right? There are some who say that maybe it was the influence of Kabbalah. Misuse of Kabbalah. Of course, we have Rav Moshe Cordovero and Rav Yitzhak Luria, the Arizal, in Sfas, not long before, this happened less than 100 years before the events of Shabtai Tzvi, talking about ideas of tikkun, that is, of tikkun of the world, the correcting the world, the idea of tzimtzum, concealment of Hashem, the idea of klipois, the idea that there are these husks which cover up the sparks of holiness. That our job, Spiros HaKelim, our job is to find these sparks of holiness in the midst of the darkness. We'll see that concept was misused in a major way by Shabtai Tzvi and, of course, Nathan of Gaza later on. So, but yes, maybe that was a part of the contribution. The Chmelnytsky pogroms, Bogdan Chmelnytsky, who rises up against his Polish, he's a Russian Orthodox Cossack, as you probably know, the Polish Catholics, the Russian Orthodox peasants did not get along, especially since the Polish Catholic lords oppressed them financially, politically, and in many different ways. The Jews, of course, were in the middle, because we were hated by everyone, as is usual, as Woody Allen says. He was sent to interfaith camp by his parents in one summer. He says there he was beaten equally by people of all races and creeds. So you know, the Catholics, the Polish Catholics didn't like us, the Russian Orthodox didn't like us, and unfortunately a lot of Jews worked for the Polish Catholic lords as accountants, as overseers of the estates. As you know, there are probably 100 Hasidic stories about this, right? And unfortunately, Bogdan Khmelnytsky comes in, massacred tens of thousands of Yidden in the most cruel, horrific way you can imagine. And we have eyewitness accounts, Yavin Mitsula and other accounts of this horrific tragedy. And it is, some say that actually Shahrazad heard about this when he was a teenager. And there are reports that it deeply bothered him and made